Hello, this is Leah Murphy back with another plugin video, this time about the Grateful Modulator. And this is a cool little autofilter plugin based roughly off of Electroharmonix's Bassballs pedal. And that was actually really interesting because it only has a response knob and then a enable distortion switch. So it was really using just sort of the built-in features of the circuit. But this time, I implemented a bunch of more cool new controls since we're able to do that here. So before I go in and show you a demo of how it sounds, let me go through the block diagram and explain its functionality. Here we have the input that's going to be sent to 3 different places. First, it gets sent to the envelope detector, which is going to detect the value, the input value, and spit out a value depending on if it's larger than the threshold or not. And so that threshold value is going to be subtracted from the detector value that you get here, and if it ends up being greater than 0, then it's going to continue on in the circuit and it's going to let the filters modulate themselves. The second place it's going to be sent to is the wave shaper, and that's just the distortion circuit. I actually have implemented 2 different types of wave shapers, both within the triode class A object, including fxobjects.h. One is just a soft clipper, and then the other one is a fuzz circuit. And the third place it's going to be sent to is going to be the dry-wet control. We'll get back to that in a second. Looking down here on this bottom branch, the envelope detector circuit is going to end up influencing an FC calculator, which is going to calculate the center frequency of the 2 filters based on the constants from the actual circuit or based on the user control. I actually have implemented a knob that's going to allow the user to go to the transfer function values for the response knob for FC based on the actual Bassballs plugin. If this switch is not selected, as in it's white, then the threshold, FC knobs, and Q knobs are actually going to, or sensitivity knobs, sorry, are going to affect the signal. Rather, if it's switched on, those do not affect the signal, and instead the response does. And it acts just like the Bassballs pedal. And that FC calculator is also sharing parameters with the Q calculator, except I don't have it written here on the block diagram. The Q calculator is just going to do the same thing. It's going to calculate Q values for the filters based on the actual analog response of the original circuit. Now here are the 2 main Moog ladder filters that really do all the modulating. And these values are modulated sample after sample based on the envelope detector value. As you can see, they just get the output, of the wave shaper as their inputs, and they're exactly the same. However, a low-pass filter B is going to be have an FC of around 100 hertz higher than the first low-pass filter A. So if you see, it has a little bit of a Batman curve if you look at the frequency response. I can show you that right here. Looking at the frequency response when you boost the Q, let me bring the FC up so you can see it. It sort of looks like a little Batman. You can see the 2 different resonant peaks there. Here's the first low-pass filter, the lower one, low-pass filter A, and this is a low-pass filter B, the one that's higher. I've included bounds to make sure that they don't actually reach above Nyquist or below 20 hertz so that nothing explodes. Now those values get summed together and then sent into a wet control. And this wet control is going to get summed with the opposite of the wet control, which is just going to be the dry control, and that's subtracted from 1 and then summed together to get you the dry/wet, depending on whatever the wet knob is set to. And that's just summed together and then sent through an output scaler that's just going to send it to the output for the master volume. So that's the entire block diagram. Now let me show you some sound samples of the Grateful Modulator. So hopefully you got a little idea of how this plugin sounds and just the basic functionality of it. I just forgot a couple other things that I did not mention about this specific plugin. Now, the envelope detector that I mentioned has also attack and release controls for its actual envelope. Those are hard-coded here, and I based those just pretty much off whatever sounded best. And I found that around 100 milliseconds for the attack and around 1,000 milliseconds for the release gives a really nice sound. The other thing I mentioned is that there's actually a bass boost control in the Moog ladder filters. I've just set that to 75%. It just gives it a little bit more oomph to the low end. Didn't choose to have that as a parameter for the user to mess with, just to try to make it a little simple. Same thing with the Q knob for the normal mode. Sorry, not the baseball mode. The normal mode. The Q is just going to hover around 6.12, and that is hard coded into here. All right, that's the entire plugin. Thank you so much for watching. The link to the download for this and some documentation will be in the description on my website. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. Thank you so much.